All right, guys, welcome to ETS. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I'm just going to go over some very simple concepts today. There's going to be the pump and dump, right? And then the dump and pump, and then the trap and shift setups is what I'm going to be going over. And I'm going to try and break it down as best as I can and simplify it as much as I can as well. So before we look at the chart here, I just want to show you guys a little drawing here, just so you can follow along here. So the first one's going to be the pump and dump, which is, price. We'll see a pump, right? And then we'll see a coil sideways, and then we'll see a dump. All right. So there's going to be three phases to this. There's going to be our pump, our coil sideways, and then our dump, right? And we would enter within the session timing window, whatever. So here's phase one, phase two, and then phase three. Okay, there's three phases to this, and it's going to work basically the opposite way, right? There's going to be, numbers are upside down, but you guys get it. Phase one is going to be dump, right? Phase two is going to be our coil sideways, and then phase three is going to be our pump. Okay, so pump and dump, dump and pump, coil sideways, dump, coil sideways, pump. Okay. And then the other one is going to be our trap and shift setup, which is going to be a coil sideways up high or low, right? And then they're going to trap the higher time frame buyers, the buyers up high, and then they're going to shift the market, right? This setup will happen very fast and very abruptly, okay? They shift the market right away, right? And it's going to be basically one of two ways. It's going to be the coil sideways, trap sellers down low, and shift the market, or trap buyers up high and then shift the market. Okay, so let's just look at NASDAQ here. So on NASDAQ we have a dump on Tuesday. Okay, and just to let you guys know here, these levels, right, it's just the high and low of the previous day. Okay, it's the previous day's high and the previous day's low, and then this yellow line marks off closing price, and it just draws it across the day. All right, so it draws the high across the day, and it draws the low across the day. Okay, so that's all it is. And then these separators separate each day, right? Just so I can know my timing and execute my trades with good timing, right? So this big yellow bar here is going to be the start of a new week. Okay, so we have a new week. This is Monday, right? And then this is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and so on and so forth. Okay, so on Tuesday, right, they break the previous day's high, which is Monday. Right, they break Monday's high, and then they dump down, they coil sideways, and then in the New York session they pump up. Another thing too, red box is going to be Asia session, orange box is going to be London session, and then this green or cyan, turquoise, whatever box is going to be New York session. Okay, so just to let you guys know, just so you're following along. So Asia, London, and then New York. Okay, so these three sessions throughout the day, it's highlighted with the boxes. Okay, so they dump down in New York the previous day on Tuesday, right after breaking Monday's high. They dump down, they coil sideways, and then they pump up in the next New York session. Right, this is NAS 100. Okay, this is the NASDAQ, so it's a New York index. Right, I don't typically trade NASDAQ within the other sessions besides New York because it's a US index, it doesn't make sense. And yeah, so basically we would only trade this in the New York session. Okay, so we have our dump, our coil sideways, and then pump, right? They pump it up all the way up to the high of the day and break through. Okay, they close and break out, which is a signal, and I'll go over that in another video. Okay, but they close and break out is basically where they close the day outside of the previous day's high or low range. Okay, but I'll go over in depth that later. Right, they pump up, they coil sideways, and then they dump it down again. Okay, so pump, coil, dump, coil, pump, and then we have two variations here of our trap and shift, but I'll show you this one just so it's just for simplicity's sake here. So heading into our next New York window, right, let's just let's say we're waking up 7 a.m. right here, and we just see, all right, well, we have our pump from the previous day, right? We have our pump. Oops. and then we have our coil sideways and our trap and shift. Remember what I told you guys down here. Our trap and shift is going to be a coil sideways. They'll trap the longs up high, and then they'll bring it down aggressively. I told you guys this is a very aggressive setup. It will move very fast, okay? So they pump it up, they coil sideways, right? Don't worry about all these little candles, guys. All these little candles on the inside, that's one big box, okay? This is one big consolidation, all right? So this big consolidation sideways is a box. That's all it is. And all we're doing is just selling the top of the box, okay? That's all we're doing, right? Within the timing window, okay? So this is a trap and shift setup, right? They pump it up, they coil sideways, and then they trap the longs up high. Just move this. They trap the longs up high at the previous high of the day, right? Just barely skimming it. They break back down inside in the New York session. They lock in the high of the New York session, and then they immediately drop, right? And keep in mind, all we're doing is buying low. We're buying low, and we're selling high, okay? Now, you may ask, what's buying low and selling high? Okay, buying low is going to be buying at the low of the week, right? So at the start of a new week, right? This is the start of a new week. This is our low of week. So we're buying at the low of the week, okay, with our setup, our dump, coil, pump, setup. And then we're selling at the high of the week, right? Because this is throughout the entire week. All right, we're at the high of the week. Thursday made the high of the week here. And we're selling high with our setup. We're selling high with our setup, and we're buying low, okay? So, and then let me just go over this real quick. This would be a dump and pump, right, heading into the New York window. And then as soon as they break the high of the day, they coil consolidation on the lower time frame. They pump it up in the session. They coil sideways, and then they dump it down, right, on day 2, which is Tuesday, okay? And I'll go over the day cycle in another video, but this would be an example of a day that gave 2 setups, right? So these setups, dump and pump, pump and dump, trap and shift, they all happen on every single time frame. They happen on every single time frame, and I'll show you on the 5-minute chart here in a second. But this is the 15-minute chart. This happens on the 1 minute, the 5-minute, 30-minute, hour, 4-hour, whatever. They all do the same thing, okay? They pump it up, they go sideways, and then they dump it, okay? Same thing here. They dump it down, they pump it up, they coil sideways, they lock in the low, and then they pump it, okay? They all do the same thing. I'm going to go on the 5-minute chart here in a second. Let me just find this. I believe it was over here. Here it is. So yes, in the New York session, we're at the high. So we're selling high. All right. Hope you guys are following along here. We're at the high of the week at the start of a new week. So Monday made the high. We're trading from that high. Okay. So they pump it up. They break the previous high of the day, which is Monday. They break back down inside. They coil sideways. They gave a nice pin hammer right at the 9 a.m. hour. And you would get in because it's a pump. They break back down. They coil. And then they dump. Okay, you're going to see a lot of variations of this, but the simple variations are going to be dump, consolidation, pump, right? Sometimes they'll have to come back and lock in that high. But regardless, it's still going to be a pump and dump or dump and pump. Okay. I hope this video helps. This is just the start of it. Very basic concepts here. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Yeah, so very simple. Dump and pump, dump, coil, consolidation, pump. And then as this is pumping up, it pumps up, goes sideways, and then they dump it down. And they do the same thing every single day. Pump, coil, trap, and shift. Okay? These are all the setups. This had 3 setups, 3 best trade setups within a week. And I'm not only looking at NASDAQ or the indexes, I'm looking at every single instrument for this because this happens on every single instrument. And I'll go over the other instruments in the other videos. But this happens every single week. And I hope this video helps. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, just let me know. I'll be happy to answer it. If you guys have any charts you want me to break down, anything like that, just let me know. I will be happy to answer it. Thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you.